Hi guys, it's Kales, and I'm coming at you with books to read if you're a Slytherin. Where are my Slytherins at? I'm not a Slytherin, so I don't know why I said that. So I have a couple of book recommendations for all you Slytherins out there. If you want to see my book recommendations for all you Gryffindors, I'll link that down below. I'm hoping to do all 4 houses, but right now we're focusing on those of great ambition. The first book that I want to talk about is Pretty Little Liars, which a lot of people I know are obsessed with the TV show, and I don't know how many people have actually read the book, because I know the TV show is really popular, and I think it's a great, interesting group of women that are trying to get what they want and yet trying to hide their secrets and in a really interesting, devious manner. And the thing about Slytherins is that it's not necessarily that they're always trying to be devious, but they think of themselves first, which is a big deal, and they're willing to do anything that they can to get what they want. And it's a really interesting dynamic because those traits are often seen in villains, and I think that this is a great group of women that do that in their own way, and especially with the villain A and how she does it. So I think it's a good representation of some Slytherins in there. And same thing kind of goes for this series recommendation, which is Gossip Girl, and I feel the same way about this one. I think some people may disagree with me on this one because I don't think Slytherins are always as petty as some of the characters in Gossip Girl are, but I still think that ambition thing is still present, especially with the fact that they trip over each other to get what they want, even though they may be friends, and I think it's just an interesting dynamic is well explored in this one. And cheeky and silly and sometimes stupid, but that's okay. It's Gossip Girl. The next one I have to throw out here is such a great series. It's so good, and I wish I had a copy. And it's Artemis Fowl. And I really, truly think that this is a great book for Slytherins. I think they can relate to Artemis Fowl. I think he is smart and intelligent and precise in what he does, and is not manipulative, that's a wrong way of saying it, but like he knows how to get what he wants. And he is a little bit spoiled, yes, but he's also brilliant and like does a really, really good job of navigating this story, and the fact that the series continues, it's so good. And I think this is a great recommendation for Slytherins. Now don't sue me, I'm holding up the movie because I don't actually own a copy of the book, or I think I do, but it might be in my office rather than in my apartment. And I'm gonna go with The Spectacular Now is another. It's a YA realistic fiction that is really very interesting. It's about this young boy who is, how do we describe him? Sutter is just all about having fun and kind of doing what he wants in a very interesting manner until he shows up on Amy's lawn one day and the two of them fall in love. And to me, I think this kind of shows a softer side of a Slytherin, and yet he doesn't really know how to live for her versus himself, and there's this great conflict of interest between what he wants and what she wants, and it's really, really good. The movie is also an excellent adaptation as well. Shailene Woodley and Miles Teller do a great job, so definitely see the movie, but read the book as well. Then I gotta go with A Daughter of Deep Silence, because this book is all about the revenge, and this girl is more determined than almost any character I've ever met. Like, truly, she just knows what she's doing and isn't gonna let anybody stop her, and is just a great story about revenge. These people, there's only 3 people left after a shipwreck happened, and she is the only one who's claiming to tell the truth, and she says the other 2 are lying, and so she goes off on this adventure plot to try and expose the truth and get her revenge. Sounds right up Slytherin's alley if you ask me. Then I'm also gonna throw out there Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page, because I hated this book. And you can hear all about that in one of my wrap-ups, but when thinking about it, I think that not so much the main character is a Slytherin, but it's interesting to see the world that Oz has become, and if you look at the world in a sense, I think that's something that Slytherins might enjoy and appreciate. It is evil and it's kind of crazy, but to me, I thought it was a good, interesting representation of what could go wrong with Slytherin traits in a whole world, especially when there's a lot of characters that are Slytherins, which I would argue that almost all of the extraneous characters that the main girl is trying to combat are Slytherins in some way or another. And I feel that it's an interesting interpretation, like I said, of a world gone wrong. Then we might go with a little bit of an obvious choice here, and that is Fairest by Marissa Meyer. This is Lavagna's story, who is the evil queen, so to speak, in the Lunar Chronicles series, and I again, also didn't like this book very much because it tried to make you sympathetic towards Lavanya, and I just was like, I don't even care about her. But again, I think it is an origin story of somebody who is desperately just trying to get what she wants, and not necessarily in the best means, which is why I think Marissa Meyer wrote this, to try and get you to be a little bit more sympathetic towards her. Again, it didn't really work for me, but to me it's like an origin story of choices being made, giving into certain tendencies. It's a really interesting backstory. Next I have to do Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and this one I put in here for the Death Darkness villain. I actually haven't read this book, so I can't quite say it, but it was put on my list by a friend of mine who was like, you need to add this now. And I was like, okay, I believe you. So apparently the Death Darkness character is like amazing and hot, and a lot of people like him as like the bad character. Again, I don't really have much to say on that. I feel bad. I put it on the list because my friend told me to put it on the list. So yes, read it and tell me why you think it should be on here. We'll go with that because I don't really know, and I should pick up this book. This book, I do know why I put it on this list, because it's perfect for this, and that's Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This book is amazing, guys. It's so good. And yes, I believe that there are Slytherin traits and aspects in here, because these two gentlemen do whatever they want to get whatever they want. They put themselves in harm's way. They put others in harm's way. It's insane. It is about two best friends who figure out a way to give themselves superpowers through this very questionable means, and what it means to be a hero versus a villain, and if there is such a thing as either of those, and it really blurs the line, and it's so great. And again, I like this one because it again shows the positives and negatives of Slytherin traits, because I hate that Slytherins are portrayed as evil, because I don't think that they are. I think their traits have a tendency to lean them towards that direction, but I also think that Gryffindors can be just as evil too, as seen by Peter Pettigrew. I mean, the Hogwarts houses have general guidelines, and this to me is a general guideline Slytherin book, because it really shows that the traits can go in either way with these two friend characters. Guys, it's so good. Pick it up if you haven't already. Just, it's so good. I wish there was more, but I also don't, because it's a great standalone. Last but not least, I have The Young Elites by Marie Lu, which is a great villain origin story, which you need to know going into it, because otherwise you're going to hate the main character. I'm just warning you. This is, again, a great, fascinating, interesting examination of a character and how she came to be this way. We got a lot of that as to, like, when in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, we learned more about Voldemort and why he was the way that he was, and learning more about his past. And so I think that The Young Elites is very similar to that idea, and just like, again, how these traits can be misconstrued as wrong or evil, and it's not that way. It can be, but it's not always. And I just, this is such an interesting story. Like I said, a villain origin story, which you don't get a lot of. Nowadays, they're kind of doing it, but then the villains are still good. She's like evil. Just know that going into it. Here are some books that I recommend for Slytherins to read, plus a bonus movie that you should watch. But if you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to also hear what you think Slytherins should read. Until next time, guys. Bye! Some Slytherin traits and some Slytherin traits. Blah, blah.